What the fuck? How in the hell did they expect? The fuck is this? Sorry I haven't been around in a while. Been busy having a life. But I just gotta vent my frustration about this. What the hell? I mean, what happened? What happened? Now all of a sudden Superman wears Kryptonian ceremonial armor. When did Superman need armor? That's like saying a tank needs a bulletproof vest. It doesn't work. Yet in the Flash, a costume that's made of metal, every time he transforms with the ring, he looks like the Guyver. I'm half expecting him to jump off a cliff and go, Flash! And then, oh my god, anime alert! This is what I'm talking about. They need to focus on their character stories, not try to completely rewrite everything at the drop of a hat just to improve their sales. Dan Dido knew this, and that's what he was trying to do by keeping the DC Universe where it was going, until he let Jeff Johns and Jim Lee take over. That is what pisses me off. I mean, we went from having a really strong universe, like really, really strong. Even though DC was kind of sucking a little bit in the movie department, it still had a good lead of movies with Batman Begins and Dark Knight, which was, like, unfortunately, its only good movies compared to Marvel's Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Captain America, Thor, and then eventually Avengers, which completely blew everybody's mind. When I'm talking about the comics, they had a good evolution of characters, as opposed to, as they were doing earlier on, writing giant reboots of single characters from Superman Birthright to Superman of All Seasons to Batman Long Halloween to Batman Year One to Batman this to Batman that to Batman blah 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 blah. Oh my god, shut up with the reboots! They took a good concept of the DC Universe when it was in the prime of evolving from its old story base into new, with Batman evolving into Batman Incorporated, Superman evolving into New Krypton and War of the Supermen, Wonder Woman in whatever she was doing that was probably important at the time. All really good stories. And who do we have to thank for all these good stories? Jeff Johns. I'm not saying I don't like his work, because his work with Green Lantern, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. He took a B-list character and put him in the prime. You ever see that poster where it was drawing the line at $2.99? Guess who's in the lead? Green Lantern. Not Superman, not Batman, Green Lantern. And for that, I thank Jeff Johns. But what I don't appreciate is when he thinks he's so pretentious that he can reboot the entire universe, picking and choosing whatever stories he finds are relevant, and kicking everything else out. Oh yeah, your stuff's not good enough, so it's no longer in continuity. Prime example of this? Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. Way back in the 80s, a very, very gifted writer, who was probably considered by most nerds then to be the Messiah, Alan Moore, wrote a Batman story so fundamental, so earth-shattering. It was a single comic issue, a one-shot, that completely shattered the foundations of the Batman universe worse than the death of Jason Todd. I'm speaking, of course, about Batman, the Killing Joke, in which young Barbara Gordon is gunned down by the Joker, leaving her paralyzed from the legs down. Now, while most would treat this as like, oh yeah, she'll just jump right back up because, hey, it's comic books. She'll jump back up there doing jumping jacks, going, woohoo, look at me, I'm super awesome. No. They kept her grounded in reality, keeping her paralyzed, which shocked readers at the time, thinking, well, what the hell is she going to do now? You know what she did? She moved on. That is what I always loved about DC's work. They always found a way to have a character move on. From Barbara Gordon's inception as Batgirl to her transformation into Oracle, she was a well-received character and well-liked. A lot of people, friends of mine included, who were handy-capable, found her to be a source of inspiration, going from the capable hero that she was to an even more capable computer hacker, becoming even more essential than she ever was as Batgirl. And what does the New 52 do with this story of inspiration? Oh yeah, she was paralyzed for like a year, and then she jumped right back up with super bionic leg power, lady. Oh. And then don't even get me started on Red Robin. Another prime example of a good character that got muddled about in the New 52 continuity. He went from being a strong character with a lengthy history to being crammed within the new millennium, just like a lot of these other good characters. He went from actually being Robin and being a boy clever enough whose detective skills rivaled that of Batman's, to a kid who was just got too cocky and got pulled into a gunfight with the Penguin when he swindled him out of some money, and Batman basically took pity on him and was like, okay, you can be Robin. And then, oh no, if that was enough, they write in him saying, actually, I'm not going to be Robin, I'm going to be Red Robin. So they completely nullify out his entire career as Robin, while they actually have him wearing the Robin costume. Well, his version of the Robin costume before the New 52. So immediately, they thrust him into the status of being Red Robin. Am I the only one that's getting a migraine here by trying to keep up with the so-called new timeline of the New 52? There is no timeline! It's just Jeff Johns and Jim Lee making this crap up as they go. It has been a year, and they have yet to give a defined storyline. All they give you is in Justice League #1, a little subquote in the top corner that says, 5 years ago. From when? From whose perspective? Back in the day, they did the whole 1 year later jump. So was it 5 years later from their perspective, or 5 years later from our perspective? Who knows? Because they don't care enough to give a defined storyline. I mean, I could forgive all the costume changes, all the rewriting of character histories, all the polishing and shining they could do if they would give a defined timeline. That is what I, as a nerd, respect most out of my comic, is it having a defined storyline, beginning, middle, end. Don't try to bring us up to date like, oh, this is what's happening now, and then explain it all later with issue 0s and issue 1.5s and anniversary specials. The only comics that seem to not be sucking is Green Lantern, numero uno of the New 52, which, surprise, surprise, didn't change his origins at all, just updated him a bit, and he's still going from the last issue. Might as well just called it issue number 64 of Green Lantern, and he would have been the only one that wasn't rebooted. We're not idiots. We know you were playing favoritism with characters you were keeping in the New 52 solid. Just don't treat us with the disrespect of thinking we're morons. If you were going to keep some characters the same, you should have called it the New 50 or the New 49. Because we all know there were a couple issues out there, a few series, that weren't technically rebooted, only renumbered. Well, I'm gonna go now. I've got to go soak my brain before I completely have an aneurysm and my head explodes like a watermelon. But let me leave you with a little words of advice from my perspective. Comics will always change, stories will always be updated to update the characters, but I think you should not change the fundamentals of what they are. A really good example of this would be Batman Earth 1 and Superman Earth 1. These are where I think the direction of the New 52 should have come from. Costumes that look somewhat the same, but yet have a new, edgier take to them. Old characters that have been revamped and polished to an even shinier state than they were before. All very good. Just don't go messing with my universe. The DC universe would have worked a lot better with the New 52 if they had had it as their ultimate universe. I don't care if people would have been like, oh, they're just ripping off Marvel's Ultimates. Shut up. You have no room to talk. because there have been plenty of instances of other comic book companies supposedly ripping off other comic book companies. It's first and foremost a business. It's going to happen. That being said, never let the power of a nerd fail to disappoint you. Mark my words. If the New 52 keeps going the way it's going, they're going to reboot the reboot, as was so famously said. And until that day, I'm just going to sit there waiting and say, called it. Well, adios for now. Until the next time I feel like I've got to rant my brains out about something, have fun.